What up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast, back for Week 17, the end of the regular season. I got the crew with me. I got David Stoyo in Canada,
Hey, what's going on?
and I got Gavin Heslop in Oregon.
What's up, guys?
All right, lots of stuff going on this week. Let's get right to it, Gavin. The Lions started out Week 17, got a bounce back win against the Packers, 35-11 in Ford Field. Stafford threw for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Packers quarterback Brett Hundley struggles, throws for 172 and 3 turnovers. Golden Tate catches 7 for 104 and a touchdown, and Detroit defensive end Ziggy Ansah registers 3 sacks for the second straight game, giving him 12 on the season. Gavin, how'd you feel about the Lions finishing the year?
I think they showed up 1 week too late. Definitely could have used this kind of play last week when the season actually still meant something. But it's encouraging. Always encouraging to see them finish out the year strong. Going 5-1 in the division, always a good thing, and hopefully that momentum can somehow carry over the next 8 months, and we can use it again for the 2018 season.
Yeah. After this game on Black Monday, Lions head coach Jim Caldwell was fired, despite having the team best 36-28 record. Detroit asked to interview Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia and Panthers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks so far. What do you think of this move, Gavin?
I wasn't a fan of the move. Like you're saying, it was the best record that a Lions coach had in a really long time. We got the best out of Stafford. He had the best QBR over his career, I believe, over the course of Caldwell's career. Definitely the most consistent. So when your franchise is built on the back of a quarterback, and you have a guy that's getting the most out of him, I don't understand why you would move him. My only thought is that they have someone that they have a really good idea about and a good almost like some backdoor dealings with, like, oh yeah, we'll hire you, because we'll get rid of Caldwell. I know we didn't make the playoffs, and our guys didn't show up week 16, and that is unfortunate, but I don't get the move personally, and I don't like the. I really hope we don't get the Patriots defensive coordinator. I think it's going to be another Belichick assistant that flops as a head coach. We've seen too many of those.
Yeah.
And we also interviewed our current defensive coordinator and our current offensive coordinator in Jim Bob Cooter and Terrell Austin. I pray that Terrell Austin does not get it, because our defense has been atrocious over the last couple of years, and our talent hasn't really diminished all that much. So Jim Bob Cooter, I like our offense, but I prefer to keep him as the coordinator rather than have him be the head coach. But we'll see.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of dealings going on here soon. Lots of open spots. We'll see who gets what. These teams got to move quickly and get the best available candidates. Stoya, the Packers moved their GM Ted Thompson into a new role as senior advisor, and the team is expected to promote within. They also extend head coach Mike McCarthy 1 year and fire their defensive coordinator Dom Capers. And Green Bay is rumored to be interested in Bears defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. What do you think about those moves, Stoyo?
Those moves all make sense to me.
Yeah.
Green Bay has had pretty much everything riding on Aaron Rodgers, and they do have some holes on their team. And I would say that Ted Thompson has not done the best job as of recently. And also would like to point out that after one off season, the Green Bay Packers decided that they need to move quickly and change. which is something that the other team should look as well too.
Yeah. Yeah, they're quick, they're decisive, they see something they don't like, and they act upon it and try to fix it as soon as possible. I like the strategy, and I wish that other teams, like the Bears, would implement the same. Um, Next game, the Colts took down the Texans 22-13 in Indy. Colts ageless running back Frank Gore rushes for another 100-yard game. The Colts fired their head coach Chuck Pagano and asked to interview Patriots OC Josh McDaniels as well as Panthers DC Steve Wilkes. On the Texans side, Bill O'Brien is likely to return as head coach, and both teams have star quarterbacks returning from injury. What do you see as any major changes that need to go on for these two teams to turn things around next year, Gavin?
I think the Colts, they're really going to have to bolster up their offensive line. This has been an issue for years now, and assuming that they keep Andrew Luck, they're going to need to make sure that he stays upright and doesn't sustain any more injuries. So I think that would be their number one focus. And then for the Texans, I think they're going to have to get some help in the secondary and possibly even look for a new running back. They really struggled to run the ball this year, even when Deshaun Watson was in. Lamar Miller has been a pretty big disappointment for them after signing him from the Dolphins. So
Yeah.
they've got great receivers in Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins, so they don't need help there. Watson will be back healthy. So I think some secondary help for the Texans and some offensive line help for the Colts.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to Deshaun Watson getting back healthy and Luck. It'll be nice to see them both on the field. The Vikings easily handle the Bears in Minnesota 23-10. Case Keenum throws for 189 and a touchdown. Bears rookie quarterback Mitch Trubisky throws for 178 and no turnovers. Vikings running back Latavius Murray rushes for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. And after the game on Monday, the Bears fire head coach John Fox after going 14-34 as a Bears head coach and 3 straight seasons now finishing last place in the NFC North. I'm definitely happy about this move. Stoyo, how do you feel about it?
I'm happy about the move, but more moves should have been done. I think that the GM should also have been fired. The president should have been fired. I don't think it's enough. As you said, John Fox and Pace went 14-34, and yet John Fox is getting all the blame for it. Not only GM Pace did not get fired, he got a contract extension, which to me is a rewarding mediocrity, especially when we were just swept this whole season in the North.
Yeah.
So 3 years into a rebuild, I don't think we should be handing out contract extensions.
Yeah. I believe that, drafting a quarterback as high as we did, he purposefully bought himself some time. And I think you want to show stability within the organization. I just wish that we could have shown stability years ago instead of ending up in this situation that we're currently in. But that's just the way it goes. Potential replacements for the Bears include Eagles quarterback coach John DeFilippo, Patriots OC Josh McDaniels, Vikings OC Pat Shurmur, and Chiefs OC Matt Nagy. So we'll see. Stoyo, do you have anyone in particular you're looking at to replace Fox?
I would like John DeFilippo.
Yeah.
From the Eagles. He has had great rapport with Carson Wentz. And one thing I do know for sure, I do not want Josh McDaniels as our head coach. I think he made such a terrible coach in Denver, and I don't think he's a leader of men. You saw him arguing with Tom Brady on the sideline not too long ago. I just don't think he could rally the troops and motivate them
Yeah. Um, I personally am still holding out hope that Michigan decides to frantically fire Jim Harbaugh and the Bears can swoop in. It probably won't happen, but that's my hope. I have a bad feeling, Stoyo, that we could be looking at Josh McDaniels here in Chicago, and I hope that's not the case, but we'll see.
I'm
Um,
very afraid that you're right,
yeah, me
and I
too.
could just see it happening. And it'd be something typical that we would do, and I really don't think he'd be the answer. I would take Pat Schumer in a heartbeat over Josh McDaniels, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just so far Pace's decisions have been questionable to say the least, and I think he's gonna make a mistake again. I hope not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
He had the 3 top 10 picks in the draft, and so far we have not had a Pro Bowler in those 3 drafts. And all his free agents ads have been questionable to say the least. So I hope I'm wrong. I do not want to be wrong. I want to win. I am tired of losing. We haven't had the winning record since 2012. We haven't been to the playoffs since 2010. So my patience is running out.
Yep.
I want to be at least 500 next season.
Yep. We're getting sick of it. Hopefully changes happen and for the better. And I hope that we get the right guy to improve Mitch Trubisky and develop him the right way. Otherwise, we could be looking at 5+ years of some more crap. So we'll see how it goes. I like that they at least started out by firing Fox. We'll have a whole new coaching staff, and we'll see what direction we go from here. Gavin, the Vikings finished the year at 13-3 with Case Keenum at quarterback. I don't think we really expected this to start out the year. They claim the 2 seed going into the playoffs, and it will enjoy a first round bye. Um, what do you think of the Vikings? How do you feel about them going into the playoffs?
I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with within the NFC, especially with Wentz being out for the Eagles. Their defense is possibly the best in the league. Case Keenum is doing a great job of not giving games away, and he's been very efficient. His completion percentage is very high for the year, I know. So he's not turning the ball over. He's converting when he needs to. Even though they lost their starting running back, the guy from Florida State, whose name I cannot think of right now, Latavius Murray, has served well as the backup, and they could very well be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan of this team. I like their defense a lot, and it's a great story for Case Keenum, and I hope they keep it up. The NFC playoffs are going to be very interesting this year. The next game, the Patriots cruise past the Jets 26-6 in Foxborough. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady throws for 190 and 2 touchdowns. Their running back Dion Lewis rushes for 93 and a touchdown. Stoyo, I know you'll love this. Newly acquired Patriot linebacker James Harrison registers 2 sacks in his first game with the Pats. New England clinches the 1 seed, and the path to the Super Bowl in the AFC goes through Foxborough. How do you feel about the Patriots right now, Stoyo?
Same old for the Patriots. Winning like it's no big deal. Yeah, they're in a great position again. Not a lot of Super Bowl winning teams come back the next season and earn the first round bye. So once again, they're in a good spot, and to keep getting good players gifted to them. I'm not a fan of what James Harrison did, but hey, it's football, I guess. He did ask the Steelers 3 times to be released and went and signed with the Patriots. So, in my opinion, the Steelers fans are going to be mad at him, but hey, there's no more loyalty in sports, I guess.
No, I mean he's a veteran. He's chasing a ring. The Steelers weren't using him anyways. Um, What do you think of this move, Gavin? I know you weren't on last week, so I wanted to get your. I know you're a James Harrison fan. What do you think of him bolting for New England?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed in that. I'm a big fan of guys that stick around with their team through thick and thin. A lot of respect for people that do that. And if he were playing for the Browns or something, like if Larry Fitzgerald, for instance, if he were to leave
Yeah,
Arizona, I feel would be different because they have no hope. But the Steelers, I think they were able to put up a fight when they played the Patriots and barely lost that game without Antonio Brown. So I don't think that their season was over by any means. So unless the move was strictly because he wanted to play, and since the Steelers weren't utilizing him, even after the Ryan Shazier injury,
yeah,
if that was his reasoning, that would be different. And who knows? He can say whatever he wants, but only he knows what his real reasons were. But I was disappointed, and I think that Brian Belichick are gonna have a little conversation about some Pittsburgh schemes and try and learn some more information.
yeah,
We've seen them do this before, signing players from teams that they're contending with in the playoffs, and then not even utilizing them in games. And it seems like maybe it's just a way to get information without everybody complaining about them cheating, because it's technically it's acceptable.
yeah. I remember the Patriots used to do that to the Jets, and when they had those rivalries in the playoffs, they would always take some old veteran off the team and plug him into their defense and gain all the knowledge they can out of those guys. All right, we had the Giants finish the season strong against the Redskins, 18-10 in MetLife Stadium. Eli Manning threw for 132 and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins struggled, throws for 158 and 3 interceptions. Giants running back Orleans Darkwa rushes for 154 and a touchdown. The Giants' interim head coach Steve Spagnuolo is hoping to be named full-time head coach going forward. Other options will include Patriots' Josh McDaniels or Matt Patricia, and also the Eagles' DC Jim Schwartz. What do you think, Stoyo, of the Giants, and what coach do you think they should sign?
I honestly don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Maybe they should just keep their interim coach.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's the best thing for them. But I just wanted to point out that I am a fan of them winning their last game, because this could be Eli Manning's last rodeo in New York. So finishing off the season with a victory
yeah,
is a good thing. I don't know what's going to happen next year. It's going to depend on the coaching, and he's kind of old, so I could see Eli getting cut. I think it's on the new GM to decide, and I think they have a good one in Gentleman. So, yeah, hopefully New York can turn it around. I've always been a fan of the Giants, so I wish them the best for the future.
yeah. All right, the Cowboys fly past the resting Eagles 6-0 in Philly. Dak Prescott throws for 179 and a touchdown. Zeke Elliott combines for 141 yards. Dallas wide receiver Dez Bryant once again struggles and has the team leaning towards not bringing him back next season. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones defends Jason Garrett, the head coach, and he will remain head coach in the near future. Gavin, what do you think of the struggles that Dez Bryant has had recently, and do you expect Dallas to bring him back? And if not, where do you think he could end up?
I think that they'll try and bring him back. I think seeing Prescott struggle this year, I think they've more than did last year. I think they're going to realize they need someone that he can kind of rely on. And while Dez hasn't been super strong, I don't know what other receiver you're going to get that can be as good as him outside of drafting one or making a big splash in free agency.
Yeah.
They knew that he was a headache when they drafted him, and Jerry Jones, to me, he's a stubborn guy. I don't see him. I don't see him getting rid of Des Bryant unless Des flat out, comes out to the media and says that he wants to be released or traded.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I agree with you that Jerry Jones is pretty hard-headed. So if he made the decision to draft Des Bryant, he's going to be, he's usually going to stand behind him and fight for those guys. So it'll be interesting to see what Dallas does going forward. Stoyo, I know that you said recently that you're not a believer in the Eagles with Carson Wentz being out. They clinched the 1 seed in the NFC, and they'll need the home field relying on backup Nick Foles. Do you think that the defense is good enough to go with the running game, good enough to get them one win, get them at least to the NFC Championship?
They're gonna have to face either the Falcons or the Rams. So I think it depends who to face. But if they do face the Rams, I don't think they will be able to win a game. So unfortunately, I'm sorry, Eagles fans, I'm gonna have to pick against you.
Nice. Are you in that same thinking, Gavin?
Yeah, I think if they face Atlanta, I think they can come out on top. It's hard to say for sure because we haven't gotten a really solid picture of Nick Foles and how he's been able to lead the team just because of the small sample size that we have. He did seem to be struggling in this game, but I know he also didn't play the full game, so it's hard to say for sure. One thing that does play to the Eagles' advantage if they do face the Rams in their first playoff games, that they do have the number one rushing defense in the league, and the Rams lean very heavily on Todd Gurley to be able to open up their offense. So if they can shut him down and make Goff win through the air to his receivers, I think that they might be able to keep the score low enough that Foles can get them the points they need.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting going forward. Can't wait for the playoffs. The Steelers hang on and keep the Browns winless. They win 28-24. The Browns fall to 0-16. The Steelers rested their players ahead of the playoffs. They started quarterback Landry Jones, who throws for 239 and 2 turnovers. Browns started once again rookie quarterback Deshaun Kaiser, who throws for 314 and 2 touchdowns. And Steelers, he's not playing like a rookie, but he technically still is. Wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster combines for 265 total yards and 2 touchdowns. The Browns fall to 0-16, joining the 0-9 Detroit Lions as the worst season in NFL history. Gavin, I know you said you didn't want to share the history with Cleveland. I know you were rooting for them to beat Pittsburgh this last week.
Oh, I absolutely was. That just shows you how bad Cleveland is that Landry Jones even beat them.
Yeah.
So that was really disappointing. But I'm happy for the Browns. I think they're actually making some good moves by sticking with their guns throughout the season. They played Deshaun Kaiser as much as possible, which even though he was failing and they kept losing games, I think that was the best move.
Yep.
You got to see what you have in your rookie. There's no point in playing a veteran if you plan on having this Kaiser as your potential franchise quarterback. But I think now they know he's not him, and Hugh Jackson is still their head coach, which I think is also another good move. It's surprising that someone who goes 1-31 through his first 2 seasons can maintain their job anywhere. But this is, I think it's really smart by the staff at the Browns head office to retain him, keep some stability, and to realizing that the talent they're putting on the field isn't good enough for them to be able to win games no matter who's there. So solid moves by them. It's a shame that they lost, but I think we all knew it was coming.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's been a lot of talk on Twitter and stuff. I know Browns fans aren't particularly happy that they kept Hugh Jackson. Stoyo, what did you think? Did you think it's a good move keeping Hugh Jackson in Cleveland despite the record?
No, I would fire him.
Yeah.
You're 1-31 as a head coach. You have to do better, but I think Cleveland messed up in not drafting a better QB when they had the opportunity. They could have drafted Goff. They could have drafted Wentz. They could have drafted Trubisky. They could have drafted a lot of people. And I don't know the exact number since 2000, but I know Cleveland has probably the most QBs drafted in the league. And they just can't get it right. They could have drafted Ben Roethlisberger back in the days and decided not to. They just keep picking the wrong one. So now again, they have the first and the fourth pick in the draft, and they have to draft another QB again, and hopefully they get it right.
I heard a rumor, and tell me what you think about this, that they could take that 4 and trade up to go to 2, so the Browns could have picks 1 and 2, and take a quarterback, whether it be Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen, and then take Saquon Barkley at 2. What do you guys think of that?
I think that'd be pretty foolish to trade up. I know that they obviously are needing a quarterback, and Barkley's a great talent, but as you Bears fans know, the capital you have to give up to move, even just one spot in the top 5 there is massive. People will pay out of their minds for it. So I think keep the 1 and keep the 4, and go with the best talent available. You've got hardly any great talent on your team, so you need to keep as much as you can, keep as many draft picks as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And unless you think that Barkley and whatever quarterback you're drafting are blue chip, future Hall of Famers, every year All Pro guys.
Yeah.
I wouldn't move up. I say there's going to be plenty of other talent there at number 4. And yes, I personally would not do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little risky. I definitely agree that you gotta move. You gotta give up too much to move anywhere in the draft, and that's why I'm still baffled by the decision last year to trade up to get Mitch Trubisky. But that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna let it go.
One thing I want to say about the Hugh Jackson situation, just was supporting my theory, is that one thing that you can't ever say about the Browns this year is they never gave up in the middle of a game. They knew they were a garbage team, but they never gave up. They lost 6 of their games. They lost by just 1 score. And some of their games, they're even leading in the second half, which I know really shouldn't be that big a deal. But for this Browns team, that's a big deal. And a lot of that falls on the head coach.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I think if they can get some talent and you have a guy like Hugh Jackson that can lead his team like he has been, I think they can see some big results if they can get a quarterback this offseason. They could be the next Rams.
I agree, and you make a good point there, Gavin. I would say that if you feel like you can tell that the coach has the attention of his players, the players will play for their coach and play hard for their coach, then you got something special. Not a lot of teams have that, and so that's what I didn't like about firing Lovie Smith, was I felt like the players were played for him, and I feel like I think I can see it that Cleveland plays hard for Hugh Jackson, despite his abysmal record. Cleveland's a tough place to win, and if they get maybe the right guy this year in the draft, maybe they can turn it around rather quickly. We'll see how it goes. Speaking of Ben Roethlisberger, he says that he would like a rematch versus the Jaguars in the playoffs. He would like to redeem himself from the 5-interception Week 5 game against the Jaguars. Do you think this is a smart move, Stoyo?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm buying anything the Steelers are saying in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've been there before. The only people they do not want to face is New England. Besides that, say anything you want, Ben.
He usually
We're right
backs it
behind
up.
you.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Um.
And
Yeah.
as long as AB comes back, or even without AB, they should be fine till the AFC Championship.
Yeah. Speaking of AB, Mike Tomlin said on Monday that he would be questionable to play this week, and of course they do have a first round bye.
That's good.
Yep. What do you think, Gavin? Are the Steelers as hot as anybody going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've got a good chance to even beat New England. I think. I know that they have a pretty awful record against them, particularly in Foxborough. But if AB is really that close to being back, they really only need him to be at 100%. After they obviously could use him in the first week because it's the playoffs. You can use all the help you can get. But with the emergence of Juju, Martavis Bryant stepped up a little bit. I think they could probably win the first week at home without. But if AB can be back, I think they can still win in New England.
Yeah, I do too. The talent's definitely there. I think they're the most talented team in the league on paper, and they have to prove it. That's how the Patriots beat you, is with schemes and adjustments, and so we'll see. That's regardless of anything else. That AFC Championship game should be awesome. Another good game. The Falcons kicked their way into the playoffs against the Panthers, 22-10 in Atlanta. Matt Ryan throws for 317 and a touchdown. Cam Newton struggles, combines for 239 yards and 3 picks. Falcons running back Devontae Freeman combines for 108 yards and a touchdown. Atlanta kicker Matt Bryant goes 5 for 5, including a 56-yard field goal. Gavin, what do you think of this game?
I am kind of surprised that Carolina did not show up for this game. I thought for sure that they had a chance going into it to still win their division if they could win against Atlanta and the Saints lose, and they sputtered. I know that the Falcons played well and Matt Ryan played really well, which he tends to do at home, but this was pretty shocking. Felt like Carolina had really been rolling lately, and then they crumbled when they really needed to, which is not a good sign for their playoffs hopes.
Yeah, I was just about to come on here and praise the Panthers and for how good they were looking, and this is an opportunity to get a home playoff game and put yourself in a really good position, and they just didn't show up. They let a division rival get into the playoffs. It's not a good thing. The Panthers will be the number 5 seed, and they'll be playing at the Saints Sunday afternoon, so that'll be a tough game. Stoyo, how do you feel about the Falcons? They were able to slide into the playoffs. They're at the 6th seed, and they play at the Rams on Saturday night. Big win for Atlanta just to get into the playoffs. How'd you feel about that?
Huge win for Atlanta. I'm happy for them, even though I didn't think they could do it. I picked the Panthers. And as you guys talked about, it's more a surprise for me that the Panthers just didn't show up, and this was the wrong week not to show up. If the Falcons can, they can surprise people because they have Julio Jones and a great offense. And on any given Sunday, when you have Julio Jones, anything can happen. So they definitely have a shot against the Rams. And the Rams haven't been in the playoffs in God knows how long. So, it's a great victory for them. And hopefully they can have a battle against the Rams, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Are the Panthers 0-2 against the Saints this year?
I think you're right.
I think so. And I want to say this. I'm a Cam Newton supporter. I think that he had a bad game. You can't turn the ball over. That's the one thing you can't do. You can have a bad game passing completion-wise, but you can't turn the ball over. The thing that I like the most about Cam Newton is that he brings the rushing game for a quarterback, which is very rare. He's tough to tackle, tough to stop. Um, I saw a statistic where Cam Newton has more rushing yards than 10 teams in the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's pretty high up there on just the rushing yards this season. So he's done a lot. He led his team once again in rushing on the season, and the only bad thing, the only bad side I see to this is that this loss sets them up to play at New Orleans in round one of the playoffs, and the Saints have had their number, and so it's going to be a tough matchup for them. But
it's hard to win
yeah,
at the Superdome.
yeah, in every spot, a home playoff game is very valuable, and I feel like it's tough to blow that the week before the playoffs.
Yeah, the last game they played in the Superdome, they lost 21-31 to the Saints, and then the home game in Carolina, they lost 34-21. So even more of a whooping in Carolina.
It seems they maxed out at like 21 and they kept giving up 30 plus. That's not a good recipe. I'll say this.
I'm just worried there's too much on Cam Newton's plate.
Yeah.
I feel like he needs to have more help. It's hard to rely on one player on the football team. It has to be a team effort.
Yep, I agree. They take away guys like Josh Norman and Kelvin Benjamin, and you take away their weapons and it's going to be tough to win. Next game, the Chiefs rest their starters and still got the win against the Broncos, 27-24 in Mile High. Kansas City starts rookie quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who throws for 284 and one pick in his NFL debut. The Broncos started quarterback Paxton Lynch, who threw for 254, 2 touchdowns, and 3 turnovers. And Chiefs wide receiver Albert Wilson collected 10 catches for 147 yards. Gavin, do you think that in any way starting rookie Patrick Mahomes affects the Chiefs' momentum going into the playoffs?
No, I don't think so. I think this is like any team that's got their playoff spot locked up and they play their backup. This actually, I think, worked out very well for them because now they got Mahomes some real-time action in a regular season game. Even though it was meaningless, it still got him to face a NFL defense for the first time, or at least a starting defense, that is. And so I think that was a really smart move on their part. I haven't heard anything about there being any sort of controversy about who's going to be starting
No, I don't think
for the
so.
playoffs.
Yeah.
So I don't see I think it only benefits them because now they get to see maybe what they have in him.
Yeah. They're looking good. The Chiefs are locked into the 4 seed and will host the Titans Saturday in Arrowhead. Stoyo, Broncos GM John Elway, after the game on, I believe it was Monday, he says, Vance and I had a great talk this morning about our plan to attack the offseason and get better as a team. Together, we'll put in the work to improve in all areas and win in 2018. Do you think it's the right move to back Vance Joseph? And what do you think the Broncos need to do to get better next year?
I think it's the correct move to back your head coach, especially if it's his first year.
Yeah.
A coach, in my opinion, at least deserves 3 years. After 1 year, you don't really know what happened. And they started out well, but them not having a QB has hurt them in the past few years.
Yeah.
And it's hard to win without a good QB. I don't think Paxton Lynch is the answer. I don't think Trevor Siemian is the answer as well. They need to either draft a good QB or sign one this offseason. And luckily for them, there's going to be a few good options.
Yeah.
I think this would be the best landing spot for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah, they definitely need to address that quarterback situation, and one way or the other. I know a Broncos fan who says that they should draft Lamar Jackson out of Louisville. What do you think about that? Gavin?
I don't know if Lamar Jackson is the answer for them.
Yeah.
I don't know that Lamar Jackson is the answer for anybody. But
You stole
I
the
think,
words out of my mouth.
yeah, I'm not sold on him as an NFL prospect, but that's for a different episode.
I was
Yeah,
I was told he was compared to a bigger Michael Vick.
I've heard a lot of comparisons of college quarterbacks in the past that end up being totally wrong.
Yeah.
So they can say he's this and he's that, but until he steps foot on the field in the NFL, we'll know nothing.
No, I'm with you guys. I think his arm talent, his accuracy has definite room to improve. And I could even see them trying some weird stuff, like trying to make him play running back like Shoelace Denard Robinson did.
But yeah, I think the Vance Joseph. I think it's actually pretty similar to the Hugh Jackson situation. You've got a guy that didn't play well or whose team didn't play well, but a lot of that fell on the quarterback position just not being great. The big difference, though, being that there actually is some talent on the Denver team, and there were games where they just didn't show up, where they had a lot of locker room controversies, people just talking out, and that's partially a product of a team that is used to being good suddenly not being very good, and people that are used to winning and getting Super Bowls and making the playoffs suddenly realizing they're going to be drafting in the top 10 that's coming off season. But as a head coach, you got to be able to take control of that. Keep your guys in the game. You got your GM calling your team soft even. That falls on the head coach there. So I think Hugh Jackson deserves a job more than Vance Joseph does. I know it's only been 1 year for Joseph, but so far I don't think he'll be in Denver for very long.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a big year for Denver to prove it, and it's a gutsy move for Elway to back him. So we'll see how it goes. I agree that they do need to get quarterback situation figured out. The Titans grind out a playoff-saving win against the Jags, 15-10 in Nashville. Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota combines for 197 yards and a touchdown. Jags quarterback Blake Bortles throws for 158 and 2 picks. Jags defensive end Yannick Ngakoue recovers a fumble and returns at 67 yards for a Jags touchdown, their only touchdown of the game. And Titans safety Kevin Byard collects 2 picks, including the game clincher. Stoyo, the Titans land the 5 seed and will play at Kansas City on Saturday. Gutsy win for the Titans, who most of us pretty much wrote off in the playoff hunt. How do you feel about the Titans getting a big win?
The same. I didn't see it happening, but they proved me wrong.
Yeah.
They even tried to screw themselves over by that costly fumble that was returned for a TD. And when that happened, I assumed they're going to lose the game. But somehow they managed to go through with it. Yeah, I just don't see them doing anything in the playoffs. Yeah. I think the Chiefs are going to beat them. And, yeah, I think they're just a one and done. Not quite there yet. Mariota has had a kind of an off season, and they need to bounce back. I'm already writing them off, even though they haven't played yet.
Yeah.
But I don't see them even coming close to the Chiefs. I could be totally wrong, as I have been in the past, but I feel like they're just gonna fold in the playoffs.
Well, I agree. I think the Jags were somewhat resting their players. They were already locked into the 3 seed, I believe. And I think the Titans, good for them making the playoffs, but we'll see what they do in Arrowhead. It's going to be a tough game, and I'm definitely riding with the Chiefs on that one. Gavin, the Jags clinch the 3 seed and will face the Bills Sunday in Jacksonville. They lose their finale, but Jacksonville's got to be feeling pretty optimistic that they even made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that 2 weeks ago I would have said the Jaguars might have actually been able to make a real decent push in the playoffs. But after these last 2 weeks, the arguing they had on the sidelines last week, and then losing this game to the Titans, I don't think they're going to make a big push in the playoffs this year, which is a real shame. I always like seeing young teams come up and make just make a name for themselves. Really, just see some new blood in the playoffs. But fortunately for them, they're playing the Bills, so there's always hope.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there. They're still a young team. I know it's hard to go back to the playoffs, but if they can figure out the quarterback situation going forward, you got a young Leonard Fournette, you got a young defense. It's a pretty good team there in Jacksonville to go forward. And then also another side point to this game, the Jags head coach right now is Doug Marrone, and he'll be facing the Bills, who he coached previously. So that'll be interesting for him. The 49ers easily handle the resting Rams, 34-13 in LA. Niners quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo improves to 5-0 as Niners starter, throws for 292, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. The Rams started quarterback Sean Mannion, who threw for 169 yards and a turnover. And Niners running back Carlos Hyde rushes for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stoyo, Niners GM John Lynch and head coach Kyle Shanahan are seeing quick results and seem to have found the franchise quarterback, and their future looks bright. What do you think the Niners need to do moving forward?
They just need to add a few more pieces to their offense. I would draft a receiver in the early rounds and maybe add a couple more on the defense, but this looks like a solid rebuild, and it has been done quite fast within a year.
Yeah.
Both GM and head coach were signed to 6-year contracts, which was quite a show of faith from ownership, but what they did has made sense. They have 2 good rookies on their defensive side in Solomon Thomas and Foster, their starting linebacker.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of potential there, and yeah, that's what you want from your coaching and your upper management. It just makes sense, and Garoppolo is 5-0 as the starter right now.
Yeah.
And they got him for a second-round pick.
Yep. Maybe I was wrong about Garoppolo. I don't know if he'd be having the same success in Chicago, but he seems to be doing pretty well. Kyle Shanahan seems to be the quarterback whisperer, continues to be. Gavin, the Rams clinched the 3 seed and will face the Falcons on Saturday night in LA. Impressive year. I don't think that we predicted 11-5 for the Rams this year, and my vote for league MVP goes to Todd Gurley. What do you think about the Rams?
Yeah, I think they were definitely the surprise team this year. Them and Jacksonville, I think, are kind of neck and neck for that. Although I would give the edge to the Rams. I think a lot of people had written off Jared Goff as a starting quarterback in the NFL after his first season. But the jump he's made has been immense, and I completely agree with your MVP vote. And if I had to say, mine would go to Todd Gurley, because being able to rely on him in the running game and also the passing game has been a huge reason why the Rams have been able to pull off the wins and win their division this year.
Yep. Yeah, it's been nice to see the resurgence of the Rams. Sean McVay is most definitely coach of the year. So we'll be interested to see how far they go in the playoffs. The Bills hang on and get a must-win versus the Dolphins, 22-16 in Miami. Bills quarterback Tyrod Taylor combines for 239 total yards and a touchdown. And Buffalo safety Jordan Poyer with the game-clinching interception, his 5th of the season. The Bills had to wait in the locker room until after the game and root for the Ravens against the Bengals, or root for the Ravens to lose against the Bengals in order to make the playoffs. Um, Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton saves the day in Buffalo, clinching the 6th seed and making the playoffs for the first time since 1999. The Bills will face the Jags on Sunday. Stoyo, what do you think of the Bills story?
Congrats to the Bills. I've been hating on them all season.
Not as
I
bad
was
as
wrong.
Aaron, though.
Yeah, but I didn't think they were going to be able to do it. They also got very fortunate that Miami decided not to play Cutler for more than a series, which I think is kind of bad sportsmanship there. But yeah, they did it. They finally broke the streak. This was the longest streak in professional sports.
Wow.
So yeah, they made it. But that's it, Buffalo. You're not gonna win the game in the playoffs. I'm sorry to tell you. You celebrated like you won the Super Bowl. You did not. You just made the playoffs, and that's it.
I'll agree with you on that. The only bad news to come out of this game is Bills star running back LaShawn McCoy left in the third and was seen in a walking boot after the game. Hopefully, it's a quick recovery for him, but awful timing. Dolphins owner Stephen Ross says Adam Gase will return next season. They probably won't bring back quarterback Jay Cutler, and depending on the health of quarterback Ryan Tannehill next season. Gavin, what do you see the Dolphins needing to do going forward?
I'm not exactly sure what pieces they need, but I think it'll be good to get Tannehill back. I think another year under the Gase system maybe will be what he needs, and I think most everyone will agree that he would have been a better starting quarterback for them throughout the year than smoking Jay Cuddy.
Yeah.
Blasphemy.
Yeah. So I think they could be a bit of a surprise next year too. They do have some good offensive talent. They've got a kind of surprise running back in Kenyon Drake. He's really come out after they traded away their starter to Philadelphia. He's come on pretty strong, and Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker are both looking like solid receivers. And then with Kenny Stills complimenting, so I think they could have not an extremely potent offense, but I think if Tannehill is able to make some steps forward over this offseason, and he's been able to work on some things during his extended time off, they could be a pretty good offense next year.
Yeah, a note on Jarvis Landry, 102 catches this year, even with turmoil at the quarterback position, so hell of a year for him. And I would say the Dolphins need to get their coaching staff under control, not have crazy stuff going on and crazy headlines during the middle of the season when you're trying to win games. So hopefully
I know it's Miami, but still.
Yeah, hopefully they get that stuff figured out. The Chargers blow past the Raiders 30-10 in LA. Phillip Rivers throws for 387 and 3 touchdowns. Raiders quarterback Derek Carr throws for 243 and 2 turnovers. Marshawn Lynch rushes for 101 yards. And Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen catches 9 for 133 yards and a touchdown. LA needed the Titans to lose to make the playoffs and unfortunately fall just short. And after the game on Monday, the Raiders fired head coach Jack Del Rio, with all eyes on ESPN analyst John Gruden, who I've heard they have offered a piece of ownership to. Gavin, the Raiders seem to be going all out trying to get Gruden on the sidelines. What do you think? Good move?
I don't think it's a good move, personally. He hasn't coached in a while. Obviously, he's still involved in football. And I think he still has a sharp mind, but I don't think that's a good move. You're coming away from a 12-4 record last year with Jack Del Rio. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Jack Del Rio is an amazing coach. He's probably just above average. But you had some injuries to Derek Carr this season, some injuries to the offensive line, that's what all everyone was talking about last year was the reason why they were playing so well is because their offensive line was able to keep Derek Carr upright and give him time to make plays. And you didn't see that last year. And they obviously don't have a great defense, which hasn't been there hasn't been great defense there for a while now. So if you don't have a good defense and your quarterback isn't playing well, whether that be due to no protection or regression, I don't think anyone's going to be able to get a whole lot out of them. So I think it was a bad fire, especially if they don't have John Gruden locked in, because I don't know who they're going to be able to sign this offseason that's going to be better. And it also affects the stability of the team, which I'm personally always a fan of. If you've got a decent situation, unless Belichick is looking for a new job, I don't think you fire a coach that just came off a 12-4 season.
Yeah, I would say I think that it's a marketing tool for the Raiders, especially moving to a new city soon. Bringing in a fiery, big-name coach like John Gruden would help the ratings and help get asses in the seats. I think that I like Jack Del Rio personally, but if you can go after a guy like Gruden, I say do it. And I would argue I would say that John Gruden, in all his years of coaching, I don't know if he's ever had a quarterback with Derek Carr's caliber. What do you think, Stoyo?
Don't disrespect Brad Johnson like that. He won them a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Brad Johnson, I mean...
Oh, I know.
Maybe I do feel like I'm disrespecting him, but he was actually a decent quarterback. But what do you think, Stoyo?
I don't think it's a good move. I think it's a great move.
Nice.
I think that if you can get John Gruden, you have to get him. I think John Gruden is one of the premier football minds, and he lives, breathes football. He has an area in Tampa, I believe, where he just has a video projector and has random coaches from all around the country come over and just talk football in his man cave. This is a guy that has a hard time sleeping and goes and watches game tape at 5 o'clock in the morning. So if you can lock up a guy that just lives for the game, I would do it. Yeah. And if he's offered ownership into an NFL franchise, how can you turn that down?
Yeah.
I remember, I believe Tampa traded 2 first-round picks to get John Gruden. That is a steep price for a coach. Yeah. But I would pay that price gladly if that comes with a Super Bowl, which happened to Tampa a year after. So I think that if you can lock him up, I would. And I do feel bad for Jack Del Rio. He grew up cheering for the Raiders, and this exit could have been premature. But if you can get John Gruden, I think it's going to be a great move.
Yeah.
Well, you keep saying if they can get John Gruden. Like, there's not even a lock there.
Yeah, but if you're offering ownership percentage, how can he say no?
I think that backdoor dealings, I think it's already official.
Yeah, I think it's a done deal.
I agree with you, Gavin. I wouldn't fire Jack Del Rio unless I knew 100% I had another coach. Say what you want about Jack Del Rio, he's a veteran head coach, and he's, coming, like you said, coming off a good season the year before, and so
I would take Jack Del Rio in Chicago.
Yeah. But I would rather have John Gruden.
And I'm saying that Gruden will be the Raiders' next coach, and I think it's already a done deal.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, if they slip up and end up with, like, Jim Schwartz or something, they might not be as happy.
Yeah, well, another thing, like you said that he was one of the premier football minds and one of the best coaches out there, but he does not boast a fantastic record. so far, and that was when he was actively coaching as a head coach from for 10 years there. He hasn't coached in another 10 years, and he's got a career record of 185, which I wouldn't call that like a premier head coach. One of the best head coaching minds out there. And he did inherit in Tampa Bay. He did inherit a pretty fantastic team that Tony Dungy had put together. Not to take away from his Super Bowl win, but I wouldn't credit where credit's due. Dungy got the boots prematurely, but that's neither here nor there. But I don't think that you get rid of a guy unless, of course, you already have Gruden locked up, which would be a big PR move for sure. Because people have been saying, his name's been in every single head coach vacancy talk, since he left.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that he's the guy that everyone thinks he is. Personally, I think he's a good football mind, but his record so far as a head coach hasn't showed me that you need to sell the farm for him.
Well, I would agree, but I would also say that Gruden is a quarterback guy. He's a offensive mind, and what he inherited in Tampa was a legendary defense, but wasn't at any point considered a great offense. Like we said, he had Brad Johnson. He went from Brad Johnson to Sean King. He went from Sean King to Chris Sims. I mean, I would never say that he's had it. I say you give Gruden a guy like Derek Carr, and you're contending. But
you also have to say that you have to look at the Raiders' defense and how awful it is. Like, as bad as you're giving, these guys, the quarterbacks he had in Tampa Bay, the Raiders' defense is worse than all those guys were at the quarterback position. So you might have Carr slinging up for 5,500 yards and 60 touchdowns, but you're also going to be giving up equal to, if not more, to your opponents because your defense can't stop anyone.
Well,
and
I agree. I agree, but I would say that the Raiders' defense had a worse year this year than they did the year before, and I think they had a bad year. I mean, 2 years ago, Khalil Mack was Defensive Player of the Year. I think that the defense is fixable rather quickly. I think that they have some big names there, some stars there, and they just need some shoring up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're a lot worse than I think. But anytime you give me Khalil Mack on a defense, and I could make a Khalil Mack defense decent. But
this isn't the NBA. One elite player does not make a good team.
That's true. But
there's 10 other dudes that need to do their job.
Look at I'm trying to think of dominant defensive players on a team like J.J. Watt in Houston has major impact. I mean, probably a better team around him, but I don't know. It's a good debate.
Yeah.
What do you think, Stoyo? You're kind of quiet over there.
Yeah, I was looking for a quote that Derek Carr told John Gruden in the QB camp that he had on ESPN.
Yeah.
And apparently, Gruden said that he would like to play with him, and Derek Carr said, "I appreciate that. Let's go win some championship."
That's cool.
So this Gruden likes Derek Carr, and if you can win a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson, imagine what you can do with Derek Carr.
I am not.
Yeah, he inherited a good defense, but it's hard to win a Super Bowl with a mediocre offense, and somehow he was able to do that.
Yeah.
I would take John Gruden right now over anyone that's on the market, but I don't think the Bears can get him.
I agree. I think it's a little bit of a risky move because he's been out of the league for multiple years. But I by no means guaranteeing that this is going to be successful. But I like the move, and I would make the move. I say give Derek Carr, John Gruden, and just hearing that quote, it makes you want to team them up together. So if it doesn't work out,
Gruden is 54, so he still has a lot of time left.
Yeah.
This would be a perfect time for him to come back.
And I mean, owner Mark Davis has had a thing for John Gruden forever. So, it's his call. He's going all in on it. We'll see if that impacts the the Las Vegas Raiders, as it's going to be coming up in the future.
Have you seen Mark Davis's haircut? I can't trust the decision that guy makes when someone chooses to have that haircut, man.
I would like to see that haircut and Ben McAdoo's haircut next to each other. That'd be a good one.
Oh my god.
All right. The Cardinals shock the 12s and end the season of the Seahawks 26-24 in Seattle. Arizona head coach Bruce Arians got in one final shot before the game, calling Seattle the Arizona Cardinals home field. Cardinals started quarterback Drew Stanton. He threw for 145 and a touchdown. Seahawks Russell Wilson throws for 221 and 2 touchdowns. Doug Baldwin catches 4 for 90 and 2 touchdowns. And Blair Walsh, the Seahawks kicker, had a chance to put the Seahawks up with less than a minute on the clock, but missed a 44-yarder. And the Seahawks lost. The Seahawks needed a win and the Falcons to lose to sneak into the playoffs. Many of us predicted that, including me. They could not get it done. Too many injuries. Major questions ahead for the aging Seattle defense. Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll says it will be tough for injured defensive end Cliff Averill and safety Cam Chancellor to play again in the NFL after suffering bad neck injuries earlier this season. A lot of problems for Seattle going forward. An aging, injured defense, and they seem to be going into transition mode. What do you think of what's going on in Seattle, Gavin?
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens this offseason. We see this happen time and time again with teams that put together a dynasty of sorts. They draft really well, and a lot of young players come up together and make a great team. The problem with that scenario is that eventually those players have to all get signed. And especially after you win a Super Bowl, a lot of guys will be happy with this one ring. They are a champion. They can't take that away from them, and now it's time to get paid.
Yeah.
And so the odds of them being able to sign players like Chancellor and Sherman and Earl Thomas and Bobby Wagner and all these guys for long-term deals, over the next few years is going to be slim to none. And so I think that we're going to see the Legion of Boom break apart, and we'll see if the Seattle front office can keep it up with signing young guys, drafting well. Quill Griffin is already looking like a really good corner. He played really well in this game.
Yep.
And got some props from Larry Fitzgerald afterwards. So we'll see if maybe they can fill the empty spaces left by their star players.
Yeah, I think it's natural progression. I mean, you're starting to see the aging defense get hurt. It happens. Unfortunate that there were major injuries, but that's the NFL nowadays, and I think that if Seattle's smart, they're going to slowly transition over to the offense a little bit. They're going to put more money in that offensive line, put more money in their running game, and try to protect Russell Wilson and improve the offense while the defense takes a step back. And so there'll be more pressure on Russell Wilson coming forward to deliver. I know he's doing a lot already, but to deliver with wins and get this team contending again. Pete Carroll says he's way too young to even consider retirement, so he should be around for a little bit still. Stoyo, what do you think of Seattle and their end of the season?
I think it was unfortunate, but it has to do with that defense. When you have that many starters out, it's difficult. I really think that Cam Chancellor was the heart of that defense, and losing Sherman as well is not good for them. Also, I'd like to point out that since Marshawn Lynch left, Seattle has fielded 14 backs and have not found a successful rusher. Russell Wilson has over 300 yards.
Wow.
Over the next closest rusher. So when your QB has 300 yards more than any of your running backs, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's very hard to win like that. Just ask Detroit.
Yeah. Russell.
You gotta take a shot. You just gotta take a shot.
It's hard to be a one-dimensional offense and win consistently, and then you have that defense with all those missing players. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what's gonna happen this offseason. Jimmy Graham is going to be a free agent, so I don't know if they can afford to re-sign him.
Yeah.
And
Probably
I also
not.
believe Paul Richardson will be a free agent. I'm a fan that Pete Carroll is staying. Even though he's the oldest coach, I still think that he's one of the best one out there.
Yep.
And it really hurt Seattle that they decided not to run the football against New England in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I can't believe that happened. And that pretty much closed that window of a championship. But it happens.
Yeah, you can't. I can't talk about that out here. You bring that Super Bowl up, and Seattle fans just lose their minds. They'll never be able to get over that one. It is a tough one. They're that close to back-to-back Super Bowls. The Cardinals head coach Bruce Arians announces retirement. He's done. He'll be out as far as Cardinals head coach. And then in turn, Cardinals just this afternoon, Cardinals quarterback Carson Palmer announces his retirement. It seems the Cardinals are turning a new leaf. Does this mean, in your opinion, that Larry Fitzgerald and Adrian Peterson are also on the way out, Gavin?
I don't think so. Fitzgerald is within just a few hundred yards of the number 2 all-time receiving yards for a career, and I think he's going to want to push for that. I think he still wants to push for a ring. I don't think he's going to be able to do that in Arizona, but I think he's still playing at a really high level. I think he'll come back. AP, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with him because this next offseason, the Cardinals should get back David Johnson, who was one of the better runners in the league going into this season, even better than AP had been in the year leading up to. So we saw what happens when AP doesn't get the ball, isn't the number 1 back when he was playing there in New Orleans. So I don't think that he's going to be in Arizona for long either. I don't think that he'll retire, but I think he's still got some juice in the tank, and someone will make him an offer based on name, if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what happens out there. Yeah, David Johnson should be a star for years to come. The Bucks get an upset win on a clutch touchdown drive versus the Saints in Tampa Bay. Tampa quarterback Jameis Winston throws for 363 and 3 picks, but clutch touchdown pass. Saints quarterback Drew Brees throws for 245 and a touchdown and finishes the season with a 72% pass completion. That's an NFL record. Bucks rookie wide receiver Chris Godwin catches 7 for 111 yards, including the game-winning touchdown. Saints rookie Alvin Kamara returns a kick 103 yards for a touchdown. And the Saints clinch the 4 seed and will play the Panthers on Sunday. Gavin, how do you feel about the Saints going into the playoffs?
I think they're looking really good. I know that they lost this game, which was a bit surprising, but they do have home field for their first game, which is going to be crucial. Drew Brees tends to play better at home, so I think that they can at least win their first game. I'm not sure who they match up with, assuming that they win, whether that's the Eagles or the Vikings. But
Saints?
It would be the Saints would play the Eagles, I believe, because they are the 4th seed.
Yeah, if the Rams win.
Yeah.
If the Falcons win, then the Saints would play the Vikings.
Right. Yeah, so assuming that the Rams win, they'll play the Eagles, and I think that will be really interesting.
Yeah.
You're going to have Nick Foles, we're assuming, starting for the Eagles, and the Saints are not leaning heavily on Drew Brees this year like they had been. I'm not sure if the news of the Carolina loss came before this game, not before the game, before the game was over, and so then New Orleans shut it off, knowing that they didn't need to win. But that might have played a part in them kind of giving it up at the end there. But I think Drew Brees, we haven't even seen him unleashed yet this year.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that he does, because they could make a really fun and really entertaining playoffs.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I think the Saints are going to be probably the most dangerous team in the NFC going in. They're hot. They got that 2 running back monster. They got a proven veteran who's won the Super Bowl before. He's got weapons. The defense, I got to give props to rookie corner Marshawn Lattimore. That dude's been locking it down all year long.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's a solid Saints team. Stoyo, Tampa Bay decides to retain head coach Dirk Cutter after this game. Dirk Cutter was quoted as saying, "It took a lot of courage for the Glazer family to bring me back with the record as it is. I really appreciate that. Question is, will Tampa Bay fans appreciate it? And will star Jameis? And how far will the Bucs go next year? What do you think they need to change going forward, Stoyo?"
I would have said coaching.
Yeah.
But since you're not changing it, that offense is as stacked as an offense can get. I guess you could maybe improve a little bit of the line, but
Yeah, the line.
Jameis has his weapons. I don't think you can have anything better. Mike Evans is a solid number 1. D-Jax is a great number 2. They drafted O.J. Howard in the first round to be their tight end. Defensively, they have Gerald McCoy, who is a beast. Maybe they could get some help in the secondary, but I don't know. This team should have been going to the playoffs on paper, but they just didn't work. Yeah, Jameis was hurt a few games, but I think this is a failure on the coaching staff.
Well, you know me, Stoyo. I'm a big Jameis Winston supporter, have been since college. I'm going to call him out here. Jameis needs to, I know he played through injuries, he showed his toughness, but he needs to be a better leader. He needs to be a bigger voice. He needs to cut down on the distractions and the drama, and he needs to most importantly protect the ball. He's turning the ball over too much. He's starting to get a little bit of that Cutler vibe, and you're not going to win in the NFL if you don't protect the ball. He's got all the talent, all the arm talent in the world, but you have to protect the ball and you have to be accountable. You got the weapons. You got to win football games. You can't blame the defense. You can't blame coaching staff. This was supposed to be your year to take the next step forward at the professional level, and you didn't do it. It was a major flop. Regroup, get yourself together for next year, and go at it hard. And hopefully they get him some more help. But he's stuck with the coach as is. Dirk Cutter's supposed to be a quarterback guy, so no more excuses. It's not college anymore. You gotta produce.
I'm gonna defend him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that this has been his best season yet. Highest QB rating, highest completion percentage, lowest interceptions. So yeah, he has had some fumbles issue. He lost 7, but he did improve in almost every single category. I wouldn't put the blame on Jameis. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's a very good leader. It's one of his biggest traits. I think that he needs more help.
All right.
But his QB rating jumped up 4 points. His completion percentage jumped up 3 points.
Well,
and he had 7 less picks than last season.
This is why maybe I'm not a big believer in stats, because I watched a lot of Winston games this year, and the eye test said it needs improvement. But maybe I'm just being hypercritical. But the Bucs definitely underachieved this year. They came into the year with Pro Bowl aspirations. The talent was there when they made those comments, and sitting at 5-11 isn't going to get it done. The Bengals enjoyed playing spoiler against the Ravens, 31-27 to end the Ravens' playoff push. The Bengals played spoiler this week and last week. Cincy quarterback Andy Dalton throws for 222 and 3 touchdowns, including the game-winning pass to Tyler Boyd, Pitt product. Ravens quarterback Joe Flacco throws for 203, 2 touchdowns, and a costly pick six. Bengals corner Darqueze Dennard returns the pick, 89 yards for a touchdown. MSU getting it done. The Ravens controlled their destiny with Week 17 win, but instead a brutal end to the season. Gavin, what went wrong with the Ravens?
Joe Flacco wasn't elite enough. I mean, they've suffered a lot of injuries this season. Losing Jimmy Smith in their secondary was huge for them.
Yeah.
And even before their season started, there were quite a few that they suffered as well. I think they need to get Flacco some receiving help. Right now, their best receiver is Mike Wallace, and this isn't 2012 anymore. Mike Wallace is not a great receiver.
Yeah.
I think they need to get him a little bit of help, and I think that'll be the biggest thing, getting him a reliable target that he can look to. They have Ben Watson, who is that safety blanket for him right now, but Ben Watson is 37 years old. I'm shocked that he's even still in the league at that age. But I think they're gonna need to get some more offensive help so that Flacco can be elite again, quote unquote.
Yeah, and I want to ask you this. You weren't on the podcast last week. We were all under the impression, and Marvin Lewis was the one that said it, that he was going to call it a career at the end of this season. And I felt like the Bengals played up for Marvin Lewis, like it was his last home game. Do you feel bamboozled that the Bengals rallied around Marvin Lewis in time for the Lions Week 16 game? And what do you think of that outcome?
You don't even understand how pissed off that makes me. I would. The unfortunate thing is that that's a real thing. Like they'll actually play up. They'll play harder for a coach. And I don't understand how someone can go out and not give 100% week in and week out, even if your season is over.
That's true.
There's got some personal pride involved there, and so it's confusing that he would announce his retirement and then decide that he's staying. The last 2 weeks aside, but I wonder how the players feel, whether the players were in on it or whether they're as lost as the rest of us are. Because I'm super confused. I thought finally he was no longer going to be coaching.
I know. We just
still has a job.
We just talked about this like 2 weeks ago, and we're like, every year we think Marvin Lewis is getting fired, and somehow he finds a way to stick around. And what do you know? He's doing it again. The owner.
He pulled a Brett Favre on him. Yeah.
That owner just won't give up on him. Gives him a 2-year contract. Stoyo, do you expect big things from the Bengals next year?
No, I do not. Maybe they're gonna sneak into the playoffs as a wild card and not do anything.
Yeah.
I will give him credit to Marvin Lewis. He has 125 wins to 112 losses, which is a little bit higher than a 500 record. But his postseason record is 0-7.
Yeah.
And as a Cincinnati fan, I would be appalled that he would be coming back. Just as you thought he was out, he pulled out 2 victories out of his ass.
Yeah.
And got to spoil 2 teams' postseason hopes. And I love seeing that on the football field. I love that there's some teams still in week 16, 17, they want to play and they want to win. And even if you have nothing to play for, you're supposed to spoil your division rivals. And they did. What I saw from the Ravens is there was a lot of celebration in the fourth quarter when they had the ball with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a little bit too early. They kept picking up first down after first down, and people were just losing their minds like it was already a done deal. And I'm like, I've been here before. It's not over. 3 minutes is a long time. And on that final drive, the Baltimore defense was sloppy.
Yep.
Eric Weddle actually had a pick that was called back because of a defensive hold. You just cannot do that when you want to make it to the playoffs. And I'm going to have to call out Terrell Suggs. In a must-win game at home, you end up having 2 tackles.
Wow.
I expect more from you.
Yeah. And I agree with you at the slacking Ravens defense on that last possession. On that touchdown pass from Andy Dalton, that was on a 4th and 12. You make at midfield, you swat that ball down, you play defense, and the game's over. And you let him. Yeah.
Even if he catches that ball and converts, tackle him, they're
Yep.
not going to get in.
Yep.
Cincinnati was struggling so hard the entire second half. But you messed up on one play, now it's costing you the postseason.
Yeah. And a brutal loss for the Ravens. I know John Harbaugh can't be happy, and the Ravens have to regroup. They have a decent core. They need to surround him with better talent and go at it again next year. Gavin, what do you...
put that pick on Joe Flacco or on the
No,
receiver?
not at all. It hit the receiver in the hands. He bobbled it 3 times, and then it went to the corner. Great pick by Darquez.
The pass was a little bit behind, too.
I don't care. In today's NFL, these receivers are making one-handed catches all over the place. Like, if you get your hands on it, catch the ball. No.
Someone has to tackle that.
Yeah.
Back.
And I'm not gonna take anything away from Darquez Denard, MSU, because he's awesome and obviously go green. But Flacco, hit him in the hands, man. You gotta catch that.
Yeah.
Gavin, you would have caught that.
Oh yeah, playoffs, man. Playoffs are on the line. What's weird to me is that Marvin Lewis was only able to get his team to rally around him now. I think that's the most concerning thing moving forward, is that it took a whether he changed his mind or whatever, it took the possibility of their coach not coming back for the team to step up and win games, but he wasn't able to do it with them during the regular season.
Yeah.
I think that's something that really should be concerning to Bengals fans and the Bengals front office moving forward. Credit to Marvin Lewis, he did turn an absolute garbage Bengal team when he inherited it in the early 2000s into a playoff team. He hasn't won any of those games, but playoffs weren't even in the discussion when he inherited that team. So definitely some respect to him. I'm not trying to say he's a bad coach or anything. Just the way that the NFL has gone, if you can't win in the playoffs, you usually don't retain your job, especially when you've had it for 15 years or however many years he's had it there in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that. I would say when you look at it, Gavin, where do you see this? If you look at Marvin Lewis' career, and the playoff record, and then you look at Jim Caldwell, they're pretty similar. In fact, Caldwell has a better win-loss ratio, a lot less years, and one gets fired and one sticks around forever. It's a little, I mean, I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe firing Caldwell wasn't the right decision, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I've said on here before. I like seeing stability in the head coach position. You see teams that maintain a coach for a long period of time. They tend to do better overall. Some of that is because the coach is just better. Belichick, in New England. Andy Reid in his time in Philadelphia, and then even now in Kansas City. When you're doing well, you're not going to lose your job.
Yeah.
But you also see teams that are constantly turning over coach after coach after coach. You see them continually struggle. So I'm all for stability, but I think that unless the front office just believes that Andy Dalton cannot win them a playoff game, which I think might be a legitimate concern, and so they don't put that on the head coach.
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis is probably in the top half of head coaches, I'd say. So I think that he's probably the better. If they fired him, he's probably the best coach that they would be able to get back. So there's no reason to let go.
Yeah, and I would agree with that consistency aspect. You look at like the Saints with head coach Sean Payton, and they haven't been contenders every year. They've missed the playoffs multiple years, but they have faith and they trust Sean Payton. I mean, along with Drew Brees, but you see them back in contention now this year.
Right.
And if you look at the December for the Cincinnati Bengals, they had the tough games against Pittsburgh that came down to the wire, and then they got blown out at home by Chicago. And I thought their season was done for sure.
Yeah.
Then they played Minnesota, lost 34-7 at Minnesota, and somehow beat Detroit and Baltimore, 2 playoff contenders.
Yeah.
So I'll give Marvin Lewis some credit.
Yep. All right, let's get into some predictions. Do you guys want to do Super Bowl predictions or week-to-week playoff predictions?
I say week to week.
All right.
Week to week.
Let's do that. We're gonna start off in the AFC. We've got the Jags and the Bills. Let's see, which game is first here? Saturday in the afternoon, we've got Titans at Chiefs. Who are you guys picking?
Go ahead, Gavin. Okay, I got the Chiefs.
Nice. Gavin, you got Titans or Chiefs?
We may have lost Gavin.
Oh, okay. I've got I'm gonna go Chiefs as well. Gavin, you still there?
Nope.
All right.
I guess not.
We'll pause it
All
or end it.
right.
Or yeah, hold on.
Make sure you save this.
Gavin, you there?
Yeah.
All right. Saturday afternoon, Chiefs,
RoboCop's there too.
Titans at Chiefs. Who you got?
I got the Chiefs in this one. Titans have been struggling, and the Chiefs have seemed to have picked it up over the last few weeks. I got them at home.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got the Chiefs. And then what's the second game here? We've got
Jaguars and the Bills.
well on Saturday after the Titans Chiefs, we've got Falcons at Rams. Where do you see this one going, Stoyo?
I have the Rams.
Nice.
I don't think it's gonna be close. I'm gonna call a blowout by the Rams.
Nice. Yeah, I say Rams as well. Gavin?
Same here. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, though. It definitely could, but I think that the youth of the Rams will play a part, and the Falcons will be able to keep it close. But I still think the Rams come out on top.
Yeah, I'm gonna
If
say
they brought back,
I'm gonna say Chiefs blow out the Titans, but I'm gonna say the Rams. I agree with you, Gavin. I say the Rams barely hang on against Atlanta. They're gonna need like a late drive or some shit. What were you saying, Stoyo?
if the Falcons can bring back Kyle Shanahan for one game, then yeah, I would see a victory. But since they can't, I see them losing.
What if the Falcons bring back Chris Chandler?
How about Warren Dunn as well?
All right, and then Sunday, we've got the Bills at the Jags. Should be good. Who you guys got?
I've got the Jaguars in this one, especially if LaShawn McCoy doesn't play. Last I knew, it was going to be a game-time decision, but I don't see, especially if McCoy doesn't play, I think the Jaguars come away pretty easily.
Yeah. I agree. It sucks Shady's not gonna play or might not play. Fournette's a beast. I think they're gonna unleash him, and I think Jags get the win. And then Sunday afternoon, Saints at Panthers at Saints. What do you think, Stoyo?
I definitely think the Saints are going to win.
Yeah.
I wish the Panthers were going to win. I'm going to cheer for them. But I think the Saints are the most complete team right now. And they're going to be very, very hard to beat, especially at home. If Drew Brees is playing the role of the game manager, you're in great shape. So with that dual monsters at running back, the Saints are almost unbeatable at home, I think.
Yep.
So, yeah, Saints all the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, if only the Panthers could have stepped up and kept Atlanta out, and they would be playing at home. But they didn't get it done. I got Saints as well. I say the Saints beat the Panthers 3 times this year. Gavin, what do you say?
Yeah, I also say Saints. I think this will be a pretty close game, though. I think Cam Newton, he's a contender. He's going to step up. I think he's going to have a big game, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I hear you. Who do you guys? All right, if you're gonna pick, let's pick Super Bowl. Who is gonna come out of each conference? What do you think? This is our pre-playoff Super Bowl pick.
I hate to do this.
All right.
I have Patriots and I have the Saints.
Patriots,
I don't see
Saints.
the Vikings having a home game in the Super Bowl. That would be just ridiculous. It has never happened before. It could happen, but I don't see it.
You and a Broncos fan I know have the same pick.
All right, I'm changing my pick.
Gavin, who do you have going to the Super Bowl?
I'm going to have the Patriots from the AFC. I think that, especially with the loss of Ryan Shazier and possibly not having Antonio Brown back, the Pittsburgh will not be able to come away with a win in Foxborough, and I think both those teams are in a whole different tier than the other teams in the AFC. As far as the NFC goes, I had not thought about the home game for the Vikings, so I'm definitely going to be cheering for. I'm going to be going for the Rams. I say they make it.
Wow. So you got Patriots, Rams, you got Patriots, Saints. You know what? I'm not banking on the Steelers beating the Patriots. I don't think that can happen. But one game, I think the Patriots' toughest challenge might come in the divisional round against the Chiefs. They beat them once this year. Kareem Hunt is the X factor. They got a good defense. Those linebackers gave Brady problems. I know that was week 1. So that's just something to look out for. I'm still picking the Patriots, though. And
it sucks. I don't want to pick them, but you kind of almost have to.
It's so hard to bet against the Patriots in the playoffs. Especially.
Brady in January, it's asking a lot. And then in the NFC, I'm going to go with, this will be a crazy story if it happens. I got the Vikings going to the Super Bowl. That defense is going to carry the day. I think it'll come down to Vikings Saints, and I think that the Vikings will get revenge from Bounty Gate and maybe get some Drew Brees interceptions out of that game. We'll see. So I got Vikings, Patriots. We all got different ones. Gavin, you got Patriots, Rams. And Stoyo, You got Patriots, Saints.
Yep.
Sounds good. Can't wait for next week. Gonna be a good playoff matchup to watch. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace out.